Introducing Vinia, a new miracle superfood from the Holy Land that is clinically proven to increase your blood circulation and the delivery of oxygen, resulting in improved physical energy and mental alertness. So order your Vinia today at ViniaBloodFlow.com or call 800-600-3619. Vinia, changing blood flow forever.
I'm so sick of proud Christians I could spit. I could just spit. If I hear one more person go, well, in my opinion, I want to go, you know what? I don't stinking want your opinion. I could give two hoots about your opinion. Let me tell you whose opinion I want to live my life by. It's Jesus. One of my best friends, her name is Eva Whittington Self, and when she was 17 years old, she was hit by a hit-and-run driver, and it ran her car off a bridge where it flipped into a ravine, and her spine was severed between L4 and L5, rendering her paraplegic for the rest of her life. And I love Eva Whittington Self with all my heart. Like Chris, she is family to me. I love her. And I'm telling you, sometimes when I travel with Eva or I socialize with Eva, I get close to being arrested because people can be so foolish and so ignorant when somebody's legs don't work. And we went to a church recently, and I walked in behind Eva, and then because there was a ramp, I pushed her. She's very independent, but I pushed her because the ramp was steep. And a woman came up to us, and she said, I really feel like God has told me to pray for you, because if I pray for you, you'll be healed. And Eva gets this all the time. And she said, ma'am, I know Jesus can heal me physically if he wanted to. But I've been in this chair for 35 years now, and I've grown to see this chair as God's grace to me. Because apart from this chair, I wouldn't have met my husband. I wouldn't have had my 2 daughters. And so I totally believe God could heal my legs if he chose to. However, I'll tell you what I'd prefer for you to pray for me. My patience is actually a bigger deal than my paralysis. And I've been being kind of short-tempered with my 2 daughters and my husband lately. So I would love for you to pray for me and lay hands on me, but I'd really appreciate you praying about the posture of my heart rather than the movement of my legs. And y'all, this woman got hot. This woman went, and she said, well, I believe if you had enough faith, you could get out of that chair and walk. So if I prayed for you, you'd be able to walk. But I guess you don't want to get well. And I thought, lady, you better back that bus up because I'm going to cut you. I'm going to cut you. I was like, I'm so sure she doesn't want to get well. I'm so sure she doesn't want to stand up and hold Andrew. I'm so sure. When Abby and Audrey were born, that she didn't want to run down the room to their baby rooms whenever they cried out. I'm so sure. But my friend who knows Jesus is like, you know what? He's got this. He orders the steps of my life. He orders where I roll. If he wants to heal me, he'll heal me. But even if he doesn't, yet will I praise him. Made me so mad that woman had the audacity to say, don't you want to get well? And yet the first time I started studying this encounter of Jesus, he says almost the exact same thing. There's a guy at the sheep pool, and that's where Jews went in the first century to be healed. Rumor had it that the very finger of Jehovah stirred the waters in that sheep pool. So they believed if I go to the sheep pool and the water is stirred, it was actually stirred by the finger of God, but through the medium of underground springs. And so when the water rippled, they believed if I get in that water when it stirs, I'll be healed. I'll be healed of leprosy, or I'll be healed of blindness, or I'll be healed of paralysis. Well, for 38 years, do we have any 38-year-olds in here? That's a whole lot of life, isn't it? 38 years, almost 4 decades. This guy has asked somebody to either pick him up or throw them over the back of their donkey and take him to the sheep pool whereby he would crawl to the edge of a bunch of sick people in the hopes of being made well. And here comes Jesus, our Redeemer, and he sees this paralytic who's been there for 38 years. And Jesus asks what at first glance may seem to be an unkind or a less than compassionate question. Do you want to get well? Do you want to get well? And I'd pose that same question to y'all today. Do you want to get well? Do you actually want to get better? Do you actually want to be freer? Do you actually want to have more joy, more hope, more peace? Do you want to get well? I don't know what the man's expression was in his countenance, but what he verbalized to Jesus was, "Sir, I have no one to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I'm going down, another steps before me." In other words, somebody cuts in front of me. Somebody cuts me off. Jesus said to him, "Get up, take up your bed, and walk." What this story illustrates is the necessity of neediness among God's people. It is necessary for us in humility to say, I can't make it by myself. Apart from you, Jesus, I'm not a Propel woman. I mean, apart from you, I can't do anything good. I'm desperate for you. I can't get to the water by myself. I can't heal myself. I can't do it myself. Most of us in an event like this have good orthodoxy. I bet you half of you could quote a whole lot more verses than we could. You have good orthodoxy, what you know to be true of who God is, what you've memorized theologically about this book. But y'all, our orthopraxy, how we live our lives, has got to flow out of our orthodoxy. If you really believe the gospel, if you really believe I can't make it by myself, then the first scaffolding of your life, the first step of leadership is humility. It's, I can't do it by myself. I cannot make it by myself. I'm so sick of proud Christians I could spit. I mean, I could just spit. If I hear one more person go, well, in my opinion, I want to go, you know what? I don't stinking want your opinion. I could give two hoots about your opinion. Let me tell you whose opinion I want to live my life by. It's Jesus. It's Jesus. It is Jesus. I feel like our culture says everybody's opinion matters. And I'm like, it does. It matters about as much as the newspapers I put in my dog's kennel. Let me tell you what paper matters. It's this holy writ. It's what Jesus says.
You know, Bishop Jakes, you said something very interesting. You talked about the social media world in which we live. So when you even started, you didn't get a glimpse on a screen into your future. You couldn't have imagined where you are today. And we have a whole generation that is growing up every day, glimpsing things, wanting to sort of start where they're seeing other people have ended up. As we go into the future, and social media is not going anywhere, so it's going to be there, how do you think the next generation can navigate understanding that there are still steps to destiny? You talk a lot about that.
Right.
And a lot of those steps are in anonymity and obscurity. But if all our life is spent right there on the screen and comparing and competing, how are people going to navigate the things that they need on the inside to become who they need
First
to
of
be?
all, it's an illusion.
There you go.
Almost everything you see on a screen is an illusion. I never post a bad picture.
Okay.
You know, the pictures that make you look like a gorilla and, you delete them. You delete them, you know. The ones that came out too dark, you lighten them. If the color's not vibrant, you enhance it. So we put this picture out there that makes people think that this is the way our life is.
Right.
We don't show them our bad days. We testify about when the Lord came. We don't tell them about when he didn't. Okay? So all of a sudden, when you run in a day and God didn't move the way you thought he should move, you think something must be wrong. When in fact, I went through many, many bad days to get to one good day.
There you go. Yes.
I cried a lot of
Come
nights before
Yeah.
I danced all over the church, okay?
Yeah.
people not seeing the whole story is disappointing, because if you are not familiar with the struggle, you will never be able to embrace the success.
Right.
The struggle does not mean that God is not there. I spent most of my life preaching in a storefront. Wow. I'm the same person I was. I tell you, people who know me will tell you, I am the same guy in the storefront preaching to 7 people and 2 of them were asleep. Okay? And that was important to me being able to handle this. People who meet me now say, oh, I guess you are preaching, you got a big church and you got a big this and you got a big that. But people who know me, no, that can't be it.
Oh, wow.
Because that guy preached with his lights off, with his water off. He preached when he had to thumb to church.
Right.
He preached when he was hungry and didn't have anything to eat. See, if you can't understand Omega till you've seen Alpha.
Whoa. Brian.
Yeah, you know what it's like? It's like you're watching this movie, you know, and your spouse comes in toward the end of the movie, and they come in at the end of the movie. You're asking all these questions, and what is that going? What is it? You should have seen the beginning. You'll never understand the ending if you didn't see the beginning. You see, and my beginning tells you it sets a compass.
Right.
He started me low. He kept me humble. He let me fail over and over and over and over again, and see if I would preach in what was disarray. In fact, there was a rumor around said I couldn't pastor. Said he can preach, but he can't pastor. Because I came home to a little storefront church. I preached for people in big churches, but I pastored. I used to watch people drive past my church trying to find it. Coming from out of town, they'd just be driving past it, looking all around, trying to find it. I was standing there in the window waving at it. I'm over here. But let me tell you something. They might laugh at you right now. But if you are faithful over a few things, God will make you ruler over many. Never let go of your dream. Never let go of your dream. One of the reasons, see, I don't have to do megafest, that kind of stuff is a big headache, a big budget, a lot of stress. Why would you do that? Because at this point in my life, the only thing I really care about is getting everything I learned and everything I can get my hands on into the hands of as many other people as they can, so that they can find their dream, so that they can move into their purpose, so that they can get up on their feet. And everybody's destiny is not to preach.
Yes, exactly.
We need people. We need anointed pilots. We need anointed lawyers. We need anointed presidents and senators and legislators and people in government. Some people need to be called into business. If the wealth of the unjust is laid up for the just, how are we going to get it? We got to go in there and get it and pull it in and draw it in and take over, so that we can make better decisions and choices than secular people. You won't be able to do that if somebody doesn't teach you how to lead, how to administrate, how to develop a staff, how to train, how to go forward, how to move.
Would you say in your own personal life that your vision has always exceeded your resources?
Always. Oh my God, I could get up shot right now. I have never had enough money to do anything I tried to do, ever. Not one time did I walk into it where I thought, I got this.
There you go.
I always went into it on a wing and a prayer. Never did have the budget. Had to walk by faith, gritting my teeth, stressed out, up in the middle of the night, trying to believe God. What in the world are we going to do, Jesus? Oh, God, we got this Georgia on this world coming. Oh, God, how are we going to pay these people? Everybody's right. Oh, God, never had enough money. Never had enough money. Never let that stop me. All right. When you come up poor, you're used to walking by faith. You're used to walking by faith. When you've been broke and you had to lean and depend on God all of your life, no matter what level, you cannot be intimidated, because I have always had to have him to do anything. So I'm not encouraging you to do crazy stuff, but I am saying that just because you don't see your way clear doesn't mean you can't do it.
Right.
And somebody you might have the gift of vision, and somebody else has the gift of provision.
Right.
And God will send people to you with provision to get up under your vision. Bring your gift to the table.
Beautiful.
Bring it out.
Beautiful.
Somebody will help you. Somebody will help you. Somebody will come sing for you. Somebody will come do the other part for you. Somebody will negotiate the contract for you. But do it. Don't just keep sitting there talking about, I don't have enough money. I can't do it. I don't have enough friends. I don't have enough education. I don't have enough as a spirit.
Come on.
And when you get the money, it'll say you don't have enough education. And when you get the education, it'll say that you're not young enough. I don't have enough is a spirit. It is a spirit. But I know another spirit that is more than enough.
Come on, come on.
And you need to let that spirit of the Holy Ghost, which is more than enough, come against that I don't have enough and going out there and do it anyway. I never had enough, son. I never had enough. I see that young man looking at me right now. I never had enough for anything I did. I was always uncertain. I was always insecure. I was always afraid, but I did it anyway. Do it anyway.
The enemy, he always fights you the hardest when he knows you're close to a new level of your destiny. And so sometimes when we get in those difficult times, we see it, man, why is this coming against me? Well, that's just a sign that God has something great right up in front of you. Yeah. In those tough times, that's when you have to be strong and show the enemy you're more determined than he is. None of us are here by accident. I think of this often, that when God laid out the plan for the earth or for the world, he had to choose people before the foundation of time. So he chose Abraham to live in his day, and David and Ruth and Esther and Sarah and the disciples and on down through the New Testament. God is a specific God, a detailed God. But think about when God looked at the year 2019, he thought, who am I going to choose to live at that time? Who can I trust to live at a time where you have technology and a lot going on in the world? Well, God didn't choose Moses. He didn't choose Ruth or Esther or Sarah for our day. He looked in your eyes and he chose you and me. Wow. And so he has equipped us. He's empowered us. So really, this is our time to leave our mark. This is our time to do something great. And by great, you don't have to be up in front of people. You can be great where you are, right where you are every day. So I just encourage you, again, know that God handpicked you. He chose you. He's equipped you. And, nothing you face is too much for God. No dream too big. God can, I said it earlier, one touch of his favor can turn any situation around. And that's what I've seen in these last 20 years, Matt and Laurie, is that, God can open doors that you can't open. God can make things happen that you can't make happen on your own. You stay faithful to him, you honor him, you be your best each day, and then you take the limits off of him. You don't know where God will take you. He's, opened the door to the Compact Center and put us in front of a lot of people, but it's easy for me to encourage people to let you know that God is good, that he's for you, that he's got big things in store, because I've seen it in my own life. And listen, he's done it for you in the past. He's going to do it again in the future. You wouldn't be alive unless God had something amazing up in front of you. And I've learned this, that the enemy, he always fights you the hardest when he knows you're close to a new level of your destiny. And so sometimes when we get in those difficult times, we see it, man, why is this coming against me? Well, that's just a sign that God has something great right up in front of you. Yeah. In those tough times, that's when you have to be strong and show the enemy you're more determined than he is, that you are in this to win it. And listen, God's going to turn that around and he's going to take you to new levels of your destiny.
Beautiful. Yeah. Love that.
I always love to think that if the Bible was being written today, who would it be talking about? Yeah. And the least likely, the least tribe of Israel, or the least likely, like an Esther, or just the ones that, the fishermen that Jesus just picked for his disciples. Why not have it be written about us? Why not it be written about you? The little lady that reached out and touched God, touched Jesus and the hem of his garment. What would the Bible be saying about us today? And the battles and how we fought well and how we believed well. And I just love that. And I love this book.
Thank you.
And I love the person who wrote this book.
It is interesting that it is all about stirring up. Like you said, when you have to keep pressing on, and fighting battles. You have to understand you're in the process. I have these two lemon trees in my backyard, and a friend of mine, we were out in the backyard and we were walking past these trees, and she said, she stopped and she's like, I love your lime trees. And I started laughing. I said, those aren't lime trees, that's a lemon tree. And she said, they look like limes to me, they're green. And I said, oh, okay. Well, those are lemon trees. They're going to turn from green to yellow, but they're in the process. And so often we get stuck in the process, and we have to understand that everything that we go through is building character. It's building a foundation for our life, that we are going to go from green to yellow. It's just going to take some time. And we don't want to get stuck in the process. So we have to stir up our faith. Like you said, we have to fight those battles. It always reminds me about what Paul said about the young protege Timothy. He said to him, Timothy was discouraged, obviously. Maybe he was even comparing himself to Paul. I can only imagine. You know, Paul was a wonderful writer. He was a great leader, and he could have been comparing his life to Paul. I mean, you know, comparison is the worst thing we can do. But Paul noticed his discouragement. Paul noticed that he was getting stuck, and he wasn't going through the process the way he should. So he said to Timothy, Timothy, stir up the gifts that are within you. And see, I love that because he said, stir up the gifts that are within you. See, he noticed, he wasn't saying, you know, go over there and get a gift, or that person's going to give you a gift.
Try to get one.
It's in you, but you have to stir it up. And I think that's what we forget sometimes. We forget that we've got everything we need, that God's not going to ask us to do anything that He hasn't already given us, prepared us for. Now, we may be in the process, we may be gaining knowledge, we may be gaining experience, but He's not going to give us an assignment that we can't fulfill. So I just think that sometimes we have to look at it and say, this is scary. God, I don't think I have it, but God, I'm going to rely on you that I do have it, and I'm just going to fight this fear with faith.